Hello, everybody. Reggie Time here with Charlie. Charlie is about to tell us a little potted history about his poker. He did start telling me already, but I asked him to stop. Charlie plays on Poker Bros. He's played at some different stakes. I think it's fair to say he's had a bit of a roller coaster. So away you go, Charlie. You were about to say you don't normally play 10 and 0, but you're playing it for this video, and then I stopped you. So you carry on, mate.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not. The reason for that is not because I'm smashing and I'm not winning at 10L. It's just simply the amount of hours that I play. I can just afford to play a bit higher off my wage. So even though I'm probably a losing player at the moment, it just makes no sense to me to play 10L usually. But as you might have seen, I've had a bit of a hammer in the last couple of weeks. I'm probably down, I don't know, maybe $300 in a month. So I thought, you know what, this is getting a little bit more than I want to spend. So just drop down the limits, get your head back right, and then maybe jump back up.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. You can't argue with that. These 10 games are ridiculously soft. You did say earlier that the people who bought in for like $5 annoy you, but they're the guys that you're going to be making all the money from long term. Because they're like the dead money. Anyone who doesn't buy in for 100 big blinds is either a bad regular or just a bad player, and they're the guys that you really want to be sat with, ideally. So
yeah, I guess that's more like I say. I think if I'm playing more 20 NL, I do like those players. But when I'm playing 10 NL with the rake, I'm just thinking, don't want to get aces after an hour and then win $2 off this guy. I just, it's just so little money to be won off them.
I'm not a big fan of your C-bet on that board versus two players.
Okay.
I think heads up, it's fine.
Yeah.
But again, it's it's kind of like, excuse me, if we're playing against two like relatively loose passive players there, it's like, how often are they going to fold even stuff like 9-8 there with two overcards, maybe some backdoors? They're never going to fold a pair. Yeah, we get value from those hands, but like from the 9-8s and things. But I think in terms of like out of range there against two players, 6-6-4 doesn't really hit us, and we have two players to get through. So say both of those players fold typically 50% of the time against one player, we can just find a profitable C-bet. But if both of them are only folding 50%, then our C-bets theoretically only working around 25% of the time, isn't it? And there ain't going to be that many good barrel cards for us. Obviously we've got like the 6 outs to the top pairs, and then another 9 cards we can barrel on, like hearts and things. But I think a lot of mistakes people are making in these games against like weak passive calling stations is the maybe C-bet a little too often with hands that they're not going to get like on boards. They're not going to get tons of folds on, and then when they do get boards that are really good for them, because they're C-betting with the higher frequency, they think they need to like bet lower sizes because their frequencies are higher. So then they're also missing value by firing smaller bets against fish with like stronger parts of the range. I think it's a good idea to like fire high frequency on those types of boards with like a low bet size in theory, but I think in practice, especially in multi-way pots, we're best just giving up a lot more, and then when we do have it, just make larger bets against calling stations. That's what seems to work for me in these games.
Okay, yeah, I do generally just give up a lot more multi-way, but so on that board, my thoughts were, if they don't have a 6, I'm just betting again on the turn. I think that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, there's a good chance I don't have a 6. If they call the flop, I can bet again on the turn, and they're just probably folding, was what was going on in my head.
Yeah, that makes sense to anyone who thinks about poker on any kind of decent level. But if those guys have got if either of those guys call you with pocket 5s and the turn doesn't hit you, maybe fair enough, we could probably barrel jacks and queens and get away with it. I just think like you have a hard time making people fold like made hands at 10 and L when the SPR's down to like what it would be on the turn there if they both only had $5. I can't remember. The SPR is going to be down to like maybe 2 at the most, and we just don't really have. I think a lot of the time your theory is right, but we need to be tripling, and by the time we get to the river, we don't have enough to make them fold anymore because they're starting short stacked to begin with. That's my experience of doing that. I think against these short stack guys, you want to be I mean, that hand was a good hand to raise against. So obviously it's ace king. You need to be thinking more. Like when you're playing a tournament, for example, when you've got 10 blinds, ace high's the nuts, you're just fucking happy to pile it in. When you've got 15 to 20 odd blinds, you're looking for like pairs and big aces. When you've got 30 to 40 blinds, you're looking more for just playing normal poker. And basically, the deeper stacks you get, the less value high cards have and the more value like suited connectors have. High cards still have the same value, but for example, you wouldn't want to play like 8-9 suited against somebody with a 10 blind stack. It's just a waste of time. So it's kind of like against these shorter stack guys, you want to be playing hands that have a lot more like showdown value, so you don't have to bluff as much because you just don't have the room to bluff because stack depths aren't there. If I've explained that. I'm not sure if I explained that very well or not.
I wonder if that's where I'm losing money because I just don't have that that sort of extra level of thinking yet. I just looked at the board, went, yeah, they've probably not got a 6. I'm smashing some money in, and that's about where my thinking stops.
Yeah, that's reasonable. But like I said, I used to find this a lot on Sky. It took me quite a while to adjust. It sometimes takes 3 barrels to get them off, and if you're playing against a fish who's like calling 2 streets with pocket 5s on 6-6-4-8, for example, or 6-6-4-9 or something like that, they won't often call the third barrel. But the problem is if they're only starting with $5, they will call the third barrel because they're going to be getting like fucking 4 to 1 to call on the river. Whereas if they're playing with like 100 big blinds, you can go small bet, so they stay in with those types of hands and then blow them off on the river. You can go like small, big, which is the classic line against fish to get them to like stay in pot still near the end and then blow them off it. Like small, bigs are really good strategy against loose passive players who call too much when the bets are small and then overfold when the bets are big. Problem is, if people are only starting with 50 big blinds, small, big can't be a thing because it just ends up being small because all the there's not enough money left on the river to make the big bet.
Yeah, maybe that's part explains as well probably my frustration when I see people buying with so little because it doesn't go with my normal style of playing. I'm a bit sort of lost and I'm a bit like, well, how do I play this guy?
Yeah, well, the shorter they buy in for, they don't know this. It's not why they're doing it, but the shorter they buy in for, the more it reduces your skill advantage.
Yeah,
it really does. If you could play a fish 300 blinds deep, you're going to absolutely crush him. You play him 20 blinds deep, and it's game on, isn't it? Because there's a lot more short-term variance involved, and he can just all the mistakes he makes aren't costing you anywhere near as much because we're only costing him 20 blinds instead of 120 blinds and what have you. So yeah, it's like I heard someone made this analogy years ago on a podcast. It's like if you're playing like Phil Ivey heads up, what would you want it to be? To like reduce his edge, and you want it all in pre-flop every time. You want to play for 1 blind because then he has no edge against you. And it's the same in these games against like the bad players. You want to be as deep as possible against players better than you. You want to be as shallow as possible, but you can't control what they're paying for, of course. So it is what it is in that respect. But you need to understand that when you are playing people with shorter stacks, if they call a flop C bet, then your chances of getting them to fold later in the hand are reduced because you're not going to be able to make those big bluffs on later streets because they're just going to feel committed. Once someone's put, say, $2 into a pot and they've only got 3 behind, are you really going to get them to fold on the river for, like, I don't know, you're betting $3 into a pot of, when it gets back to them, is 8, for example. They're probably not going to call getting over 2 to, probably not going to fold getting over 2 to 1. But if they put, say, $3 in the pot and they've got 9 behind, you can, on boards that change significantly, that disadvantage their range, you can absolutely put loads of pressure on the river. But say, for example, you go bet, and the river's a king and you don't have one, but you think it's a good scare card. If they've got $2 left and the pot's 8, they're probably not going to fold. If they've got $11 left and the pot's 8, then they probably are going to fold to a large bet. And you're going to be careful with like your pot management against these players and make sure that the pot size on the river is kind of set up as best it can for whatever purpose you want it to be. So if you want to like put a large bet bluffing on the river, you can't be getting the pot too big because then the SPI won't be in your favour. If you want to get value on the river, then you need to make bigger bets all the way across so then they feel more committed to call you. So it's like what you do on the early streets significantly has an impact on what you can do on various rivers.
Yeah, and I think this is probably exactly why I'm losing money to smaller stacks because I'm not I'm not considering what sort of what percentage of their stack they're putting in or how many big blinds they're betting. I'm just thinking, oh, there's only a bit $3 on the river. Oh, that's cheap. I'll call that. But I'm actually not thinking, oh, that's his whole stack he's just put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, a good practice to do is that when you're playing, is that right? You're on the turn or whatever, and you've got a value hand. So you kind of want to say, like, well, how much do I need to bet here, so I can make a large river value bet, or vice versa. If you're just trying to run a triple barrel bluff, how small can I bet here to keep the weakest parts of his range in that leave me a large enough river bet to get him to then fold it? So on like flops and turns, you start thinking, right, how much has he got in his stack? If I bet certain amounts of money, what's that going to make the stack to pot ratio look like on future streets? And once you start doing that, then you'll start hopefully giving a bit more thought to how best to exploit the players that you're up against. If you're just kind of autopiloting, I'm just going to bet this and not pay attention to how that's going to leave the SPR, then you are going to make some mistakes, and you're not making the most of your skill advantage. But it is easy just to get into autopilot mode, because we only play recreationally. We all try and make money, but we're all, especially while this fucking virus is going on, we're playing to pass time a lot of the time, and we want to enjoy ourselves, and we're not, is everyone super arsed about putting tons of thought into sizing? Maybe not, but if you want to make the most money you can, it's something, it's a skill you have to develop, and it's something like just learning to concentrate for longer times and not switch off. It makes a huge difference to your win rate in the long term.
Yeah, I'd say on the whole, I mean, I've on a bad way, I played like a dick this week, but on the whole, I'd say I'm a pretty disciplined player. I mean, I'm a lot weirder and more disciplined wise. I mean, there's players that know me that have seen me sit for 3 hours, play probably 10 hands and lose with 5 buy-ins. Just because I just know about just sitting there, I can just play these players, wait for a premium, they're oblivious to how much I fold it, and they just shove the stack in anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think we don't have to sit and wait for premium hands. We just have to sit and wait for good spots. We don't have to always have a hand. We just have to have the spot. I don't know, you 3-bet somebody, they've called, and the ball comes down in your, it favours your range but not your hand. You still should be taking those spots in these games. You need to try and just I tend to play on the flop. I'll play my range. So if the flop's just good for my range, I'll play accordingly against, no matter what my hand is, no matter who my opponent is. Then on the turn, against good regulars, I continue playing my range, and against fish, I'll just play my actual hand. So on the pre-flop and flop, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say playing GTO because I've never studied a fucking second of it, but I'm playing something what I think is similar to GTO in terms of that's good for my range, so I'm just going to bet. And then on turns, I'm continuing trying to think that way against regulars, and against fish, I'm effectively just turning my hand face up, and if I've got a strong hand, I'm going to keep betting, and if I've got a weak hand, but regardless of whether the board's in my favour or not, if I've got a weak hand, I'm just giving up against them, because otherwise you'll just tear your fucking hair out, because you'll play theoretically good poker, and if you're just running bad in terms of your actual hand strengths on boards that are good for you, you'll just get owned by people who haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing.
Yeah, that's happened to me plenty of times, yeah.
So that's what I can remind myself now. Against fish, it's flop, play my range, and then turns and rivers, just play my actual hand strength. Because fish aren't going to adjust to you quickly enough, if ever. So it doesn't matter against fish, but it does against regulars. If you just playing your range on flops and then playing your hand on turns against regulars, you become very exploitable very quickly. So against regulars, you need to keep trying to play a fundamentally sound strategy. But against fish, fuck that. After the flop, if they're giving you action and you don't have anything, irrespective of how good the board is for you, for me, just shut down. But then make up for that by making extra large value bets against them when they're looking to not give a fuck that you're representing a strong range.
I find this an interesting hand here. I flopped. I don't know whether to lead out in that spot, to be honest. If that just turns my hand pretty much face up to them.
I think it's fine to check call 2 streets here at least. We have a pretty strong hand. We don't block any bluffs. We haven't got any 10s, kings in our hand. We haven't got any clubs. I think if we lead out, we're going to we're going to force their range into an area where it's not good for us. Whereas if we keep checking, it keeps a lot of their weaker hands in that they may choose to bet with. If this doesn't, I'd just check call down 3 streets here, because he still can have all his bluffs. He can You can value bet some like worse jacks and things.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he'd been betting bigger, I'd have folded the river, but he was betting so small there, I could comfortably just call the river there.
Yeah, I think we have to call the river regardless there because the board's just completely bricked out. So every single draw he could have had has missed.
This is tricky pre-flop now.
But you either have to squeeze it or fold it, don't you? You can't just flat, I don't think. But if you are going to squeeze, that looks way too small. Is that just 40 cents? That is way too small.
Yeah.
Against two.
Yeah.
Like
I've raised too small pre-flop and I've just absolutely shot myself in the foot now.
And then you should have c-bet the flop and you didn't do it. Yeah. This one's been butchered, sir. This one has been royally butchered.
I think I've left it too late. I'm
yes,
you've give up and accept a loss.
You've left it way too late.
Yeah, butchered that.
But there you go. I mean, it shows how good the games are when some dude's raising and calling King 6 suited under the gun. You know, you're in good games, buddy. All you need to do is play well and you'll crush. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a reasonable squeeze spot, especially against someone who's opening as wide as King 6. But your sizing's way too small. You're only asking them each to put 5 more blinds in each. Then you're going to be out of position to 2 people who are almost guaranteed to call for that price. With a King Jack off, which isn't exactly a super strong hand to be doing that with in the first place. So I like the squeeze. I think we had the fold or squeeze there, but we need to make the squeeze much bigger.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think I'd probably lean towards squeezing more than folding there. But yeah, like you said, I just need to increase my size there because, yeah, I'm an absolute mess there.
Yeah, and then you've got a really good board to see bet, and you just chose not to do it, which is fine because you're against 2 players, so the chances are one of them's way more likely to have an ace. But it's like I said earlier, play your range on the flops and play your hands on the turn against bad players. So I think there would just a c bet no matter what, and then probably just giving up if we got called. Maybe barreling sometimes if we flop a good shot and I'm in a bad mood. Maybe we'll just fucking fire the second barrel in. And that I don't think it'd be very good to fire a second barrel in with a good shot on an ace-side board in a 3-bet pot. But yeah, when I'm in a stinking mood, I fucking do it anyway because, like everyone else, I'm a human being and I fuck up from time to time. But it's like I was talking to Tom the other week. It's just quite hard to make aggressive mistakes in these games. And if you're going to make a mistake, you're much better to make an aggressive one than you are a passive one.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, heads up there, I'll see betting that all day long, but I think multi-way, I just choked a bit and thought, yeah, would have probably got a low ace rag, something. I just choked up and went, and didn't bet it.
Yeah, that's reasonable, because it might even float you with hands like pocket 7s or pocket 8s there for one street, and then they're still going to win the pot, because you have to start checking the turn, and then we just check down against pocket 8s and we just hate our lives again. So I don't hate giving up. I just think theoretically when we squeeze versus under the gun and we get like an ace low flop, it's your perfect c-betting flop, isn't it?
Yep. Do you think they're quite often your c-betting the flop and then giving up, or what do you think?
Multi-way, I'm less incentivized to c-bet because, like you say, one of them is just way more likely to have peeled with an ace pre. You're up against 2 players, so yeah, I don't hate the give up at all. I think like that's one of the things where when I'm playing, I probably do exactly the same as you did. But when you're talking about stuff in the video, you're like, well, maybe that should have been a c-bet. But it's not always easy to deliver. Like when you're in the action and you're a bit snake bit, or you're just not used to people folding in those spots. It's like, again, I was talking to Tom about last week, it's easy to just like revert to like a kind of passive, moderate style of poker just because you're not used to people folding to your c-bets, so you kind of give up on bluff spots that you shouldn't be giving up on, really. So I think theoretically we should c-bet. In practice, checking's probably fine in these games. That's how I would take that myself. But I think heads up, we have to.
I'm checking this spot because I think they've both limped in. I think that sort of 6-7 type. I think that just kind of hits at least one of their ranges pretty good.
Yeah, and it doesn't hit ours at all either. It's a terrible board for our range. If we've isolated a limper then yeah, we obviously we have the overpairs and things we can continue betting, but in terms of our overall range, it's not a good flop for us. And I think it's if we have like a heart on there or something, maybe we can think about like c betting really small and then barreling big on good turns. But against two opponents with no heart, 5, 6, 7, it's a complete standard give up, isn't it?
Yep. I mean, that said, what's to... I'd probably be really nitty and fold this normally, but as we're recording, I'll try and get a bit of action and just and raise this here, I think.
Just do what you normally do, buddy. Just don't think you've got to go out of your way to do anything that you don't normally do, because that's silly. We don't want you to lose money just through trying to put a more entertaining show on for people who are getting it for fucking free anyway. It's not like they're all paying 20 quid a ticket, is it? We're not the Royal Opera House fucking charging them £8 million fucking pounds. It's free. So fuck it. Just play your normal games, sir.
So with that previous hand, what was to stop me just trying to rep having an overpay? I could. I'm going to slow this down here and check call.
Don't think I would have personally. In passive games, I'm not sure people are going to bluff that often, and then you just letting shit like that happen.
Yeah, you bang on there.
I mean, I will block this now. I just bet like 90 cents or something and fall to a raise. Because you can still get called by worst two pairs, and you're never going to get raised. Well, I think that's too big, though. Is it? Is it too big? Okay. Yeah, I think it's too big. If we're going to block it, you're going to bet like 1/3 pot, I think, to allow them to call with 10x, 8-6, those types of things. I think that's too big. I mean, maybe you still win anyway.
It looks like I've got away with it. If I spoke too soon. Ooh.
Wow, you're
maybe
beating
not.
both spots. Sweet baby Jesus.
Wow.
Didn't think you were going to come third place there, but...
Nope.
But I think that's the value in blocking there. If you only bet $1 there, they both only call you still. But by betting $1 rather than $2.10, you allow them to call you with weaker hands. I mean, we bet 2.10 and we've been called in 2 spots and we're beating 2 spots. I think they just bet $1, fall to a raise, and don't care too much about it, I think.
Yeah, so this hand here, I remember speaking to Tom about when the board runs out like that. And he said, if you've got the lower full house, you can unexploitably fold from the river if you've got the lower full house there.
But just check fold, or bet, or just like fold to a bet if you're in position someone leads.
Come on, yeah, I'll come to speak a bit more and clear that one up with him.
Yeah. I mean, that was a theorem back in the day. There was a theorem by a player called Zebo who used to be good, and his theorem was no one ever folds a full house. So if you have like the top full house, just bet really big because no one folds the lower one. And that was probably right back in the day. Whether it's true now, I very much doubt. Because I agree. I think if you've got the lower full house and someone's making a large bet, you can usually fold because people really like bluffing hard on double paired boards in these games. The odd, maybe one person in 10 is. But by and large, against the population, I think you can easily find folds versus large bets. Not against small bets. I think if someone bets like 1/3 pot, you just have to pay them off. But if someone's betting like more than half pot on a double paired board and you have the low full house, I have no issue with folding it unless you have a good reason to think your opponent's particularly aggressive or what have you, or your hand's significantly under-repped.
Yeah, I mean, as well, that hand just there was there's 20 cents in the pot, so I just didn't care. I just looked at it and went, you know what, forget it.
I think the smaller the pot, the more we can just call, because maybe they can bet wider ranges. I don't fucking know. It's not a spot I've given a lot of thought to be honest with you. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a common spot. Like a small pot. I mean, if we've flopped trips and we've got to the river with a small pot, then we haven't done our job right in the first place.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Nah. I think that spot there with 5s I might have limped in. I'm not a fan of limping at all, but in these games, I find so often you can set mine and get paid off. So, yeah.
I think rather than limping, again, and you're right, because we're not getting exploited, rather than limping, you can maybe just get away with raising smaller and just. I mean, I think it's not good poker in theory, and if you move up and do these kind of things, you'll get annihilated by better players. But I
Yeah.
think you could basically turn your hand face up pre-flop with your sizings and not get exploited for it. So you could maybe just min open or 2.5x or pocket pairs like that small
Yeah,
that you just want
yeah.
to set mine with. Because then if you do get 3-bet, people don't know you 3-bet big enough to allow you to fold, so therefore you're getting good implied odds. And then just raise bigger with your bigger pairs and your high cards. Again, it's theoretically it's very unsound, but in practice, it just works well in bad games. In bad games, you don't want to be playing theoretically sound. You want to be being as exploitable as you possibly can in the pursuit of trying to exploit bad players as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
used to get on Sky. I used to do all kinds of things and make plenty of money on videos. But then I get slated. Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it works. You know, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah,
if you went to the casino and played in your local 1-1 game and tried to play like solver-approved poker, you'd make money, but you wouldn't make anywhere near as much as you do if you just limp along with people, get in the multi-way pots and look to hit home runs. So you've got to adapt to your game, and these people who use solvers and then refuse to adapt to fish, then to me they're worse players. I don't care
yeah,
how much study they've done. They're worse poker players than the guys who play theoretically unsound and win more money, because it can't just be this is solver approved, so I'm doing it. Well, it can be because you will make money, but you won't make anywhere near as much in the micro stakes as you'd make by saying, right, the solver says this, but I'm going to move away from that as an exploit because of this. Then you're going to make far more money. It's nice to know what kind of might be solver approved, and then have a justification for not doing it because you're looking to exploit somebody. If you can have like both those thought processes running at the same time, right, book says this, but exploit says this, so I'm going to go with the exploit, and I think that's when you would be crushing. That's kind of what I try and do. I mean, like I say, I've never studied solvers, but I do listen to people who have, and so I kind of have a broad idea of what I should be doing in various spots on various boards. So I kind of have that as my base point, and then I'll try and deviate from that as much as possible based on what I know about my opponents. It's kind of how I do it, and I'm never going to be a crusher at higher stakes, but I do crush a micro stakes like year on year on year, and I'll continue to do so until all 10-0 players are solver approved too, and that's when I'll have to go and find something else to do. I'll have to be an aging porn star or something. Do you reckon there's a market for 17 stone blokes with small dicks doing porn? Because if there is, fuck me, I've got that market cornered. I've got that market
well, that's
truly cornered.
not something expected to come out in the game, so that's a new thing I've learned. Yeah, just going back to that. Yes, I mean, I find that these kinds of games, I can limp in quite often with pocket pairs and get paid off.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I try to do that against better players, I just, as soon as I started betting my sets, they'd just be folding because they know exactly what I've done. They've seen me limping, they know exactly what I'm doing, and they'll just fold against a better player.
You do that in Zoom and you'll get annihilated. Do it in these games, and whilst it's theoretically unsound, in practice it'll just work for you. So, yeah, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. A lot of people would tell you not to do it. I don't do it personally, but I have no issue with people who do it, because you've got to play the games the way you see them.
Yeah, I don't really think this flop particularly is. It's not a good flop for me, but I don't think it's a particularly good flop for him either. So,
no. Well, Tom said to me last week, and that's something I've started doing more, it works well, is like basically jack-eye flops are some of the best to see bet. So, I mean, I don't know why he said that, and I don't know the theory behind it, but if he said it, I'm sure he's heard it somewhere, and I'm like, fine, I'll follow that blindly for a while, see how I get on. And it has been working quite well, especially with King Queen, because there's so many good turn cards for you, 9, 10,
yeah.
Queen, King, Ace. You can barrel all of them, so any card over 9 you can comfortably double barrel, especially against his stack size where you can just barrel, and if he jams, fine, fuck it, just call. And, fingers crossed you got 15 outs going to the river or something, If he's just got the jack, for example, and jams the turn, and you've got a gut shot plus 2 overs, then, how bad shape can you be in for that money that's left? Yeah, so maybe I need to ask Tom about why Jack XX flops are the best. He just said it to me, and that's what I do. I just hear people say stuff that I don't necessarily understand why, and just think, yeah, I'll try that for a bit then. And yeah, it's certainly been working well in the short term for me, because I've been finding a lot more C bets than than I was finding, because I was giving up on Jack-eye board. I was waiting for like Queen, King, Ace-eye boards to c-bet. Now I can start c-betting Jack-eye boards too. It's obviously gives me a few extra c-bets that I wasn't finding, which hopefully makes me a little bit harder to play against.
Yeah. I mean, that turn there, I wanted to just rep the ace. Or if he, if he doesn't even have a queen, I think he struggles to call there. If he hasn't got a queen or an ace, I think he's holding.
Yeah, I mean, any time the board changes on the turn in favour of like your range, it can't be a bad time to barrel, can it? It really can't be. Yeah, of course you're going to run into something some of the time, but if they've peeled you with like an underpair there, they're just going to fold with an incredibly high frequency when the ace comes, because they're already scared of the queen. Then the ace comes, and we've all been there. You've called a flop c-bet with an underpair, and then the ace has come and your heart sank. We've all been there. We all know how it feels, and we all know we probably overfold in that spot. So yeah, if it's a spot where people are going to be overfolding, then it's never a bad spot to fire a second barrel, is it? It can't be.
Yeah, this is the tricky one, because he's not got a bad stack behind here, but yeah, I think maybe I could have folded that 3-bet, because I think even when I hit my set here, I don't think I'm getting a lot of money off them.
No, these are the spots where if you're running Hold'em Manager, it's where people just hemorrhage red line, and that's like trying to set mine out of position, especially cut-off v button, where he's going to have a wider 3-betting range anyway, so your implied odds aren't the same because he doesn't have a stronger range. If we open, say, pocket fours under the gun and the small blind 3-bets us, his range looks a lot different to us opening the cut-off and someone 3-betting us from the button. So we can bank on having pretty good implied odds if we make our set under the gun be small blind. But if we do make our set cut-off versus button, we might win no more than a c-bet at best. So the implied odds aren't anywhere near the same. And that's when people, like, when they get in Hold'em Manager, see the red line going down, they lose so much confidence because they're like, oh, fuck, I'm just getting run over. And they don't really understand why, and most of it does come from like the pre-flop decisions, defending too much in the blinds, not 3-betting enough, calling too many 3-bets out of position. It's not really something you want to be doing that much, like, even against bad players, because it's just so difficult. You like your pocket fours pre-flop until you don't flop a set. And then you look at him like the fucking Ginger Step Kid, don't you? You're like, fucking get out of my life. Get the fuck out of my life. I don't want you. I don't like you. And that's it. It's when I kick the cunt out on the street, don't you? And that's kind of how they look. That's how they feel. No offence to ginger people who are stepchildren watching the video, of course.
I was waiting for that disclaimer to get thrown in.
I've nothing against ginger people or stepchildren, but yeah.
Reggie now has 10 less followers.
That's my racism coming out. I don't insult black people, Muslims, gays, homosexuals or anything, but yeah, ginger stepsons, they can fuck right off. Absolutely dying a ditch, a lot of the cunts.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, it was funny actually, because as I did the action there on them fours, I said, yeah, this probably isn't good. And then I still did it, and I think, why have I just said I don't want to do it and then just press buttons anyway and done it?
Discipline, sir. Lack of discipline, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I know this is bad, but I'm doing it anyway. It's a little mental game leak, because it's something that you know is bad, so then you do it. So it's a form of tilt. Even though you're not tilting, any deviation from your A game can be classified as tilt, and you knowing you're making a bad call, that is, it's a deviation from your A game. So even though you're not tilted at all, you're having a nice time. It's a form of, it's certainly a mental game leak. It could be a form of tilt. Oh, fuck it, I know this is bad, but I'm doing it anyway. In just that little microsecond, you've had a little microsecond of tilt, which has caused you to make a mistake, and then you're back to normal again. But all these little things, they don't just add up to, like, taking away from your bottom line. It's what they take away from your confidence and self-belief as well, which is more damaging than just losing the 40 cents or whatever he 3-bet you. The 40 cents is neither here nor there, but if that contributes to you becoming less confident during your session and more prone to making mistakes, then it really does become, like snowballs.
Yeah, I found that strange. Then the fives are 3-bet, and then he just leads out on that board. I'm like, well, I mean, for me, it turns his hand face anyway. He's got a piece of the board and doesn't want me to hit anything. Is what that's telling me when he just leads out like that.
I've never seen as many fucking donk bets in my life until I started playing on the apps, and different people do it for different reasons, and it's just you need to have notes on people, because some people will donk out when they've hit top pair, some people will donk out when they've hit, and you need to know because different people have different reasons for leading out, and you need to have notes. The trouble with this particular club playing as we do with the tables all stacked up, it's really hard to get your notes in because you know there's action on your other tables and you've got to keep cycling in and out of them. It's really, really hard to take notes. But where you can, if you get just say you get to showdown with someone who's donked out with a set, for example, or you get to showdown with someone who's donked out with a draw, that's really important information because you can absolutely use that against them in future spots. If you find someone who donks with a draw and checks a set, then you can make some really good decisions against them going forwards. You know, you only need a couple of instances of seeing what their donking ranges and their checking ranges look like to be able to exploit them quite quickly. So obviously when people check sets and what have you, then when they check sets, you don't learn so much. But when they check sets and donk draws, then you can raise quite big for value against them, knowing that they're probably going to come along and knowing that they don't have their strongest hands. They're going to just have draws and things. And maybe when they don't bet, we can just do lots of small stabs against them, because if they are checking a set, they're not just going to check call versus a small bet, so you're going to force them to turn their hand face up earlier in the hand. So if you've got something like donks draws and goes for check raises with sets, then you can just, instead of betting 40% or 50%, 60%, so just fight a 25-30% pot against them. So when they don't raise, then they haven't got a draw, they haven't got a set, and you can define their ranges far more clearly earlier in the hand. So you've got to learn to love the donk betters.
Just made a bit of a mess of this hand. Don't know what I was doing on that hand, to be honest. I think his lead out was, I've got a queen. I think it was as simple as that, and I think I was just a bit reluctant to fold there when I 3-bet him.
Yeah, I think when we 3-bet and we flop 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush, we're kind of obliged to see a turn, aren't we? I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're obliged to, unless the bet's huge. If I 3-bet someone and I've got King Jack on Queen XX and there's one of my flush cards too, I'm not folding for one bet. I think it's too early to raise, but I think we can float, and then if the turn's no good to us, he bets again, we can just give up. If the turn's good for us and he bets, we can think about jamming on him, or we can think about peeling depending on what size he makes. But yeah, there's not a chance I'd fucking fold 3 to a flush, 3 to a straight versus a donk bet in a 3-bet pot. Not unless there was next to nothing behind. But then, you know, donk bets are interesting, but like I say, the more bad players you play against, the more you're going to see them, because good players don't do it very often. If you see a good player donking, it's usually going to be in a multi-way pot where they've got a set or something and they don't want to see it check through. So usually when you see the donk bet, you can assume unskilled player, and then it's your job to figure out what parts of their range they're doing it with, so you can exploit them for it. And if you don't do that, if you don't retrieve that information and get the note, then it's your mistake, isn't it? That you're making as big a mistake as they are, because they're showing you a way to exploit them, and you're not figuring out what that way is. So therefore, you're making a mistake then.
Yeah, my general feeling on flops, if I see them donk bet, is if the board's uncoordinated, I think they've got top pair or second pair and want a bit of money, or if the board's coordinated, quite often I think they've got a fairly strong hand and they don't want me to see another card for free.
Yeah, well, that's an assumption that's reasonable, but if you stick around and watch the hand through and look at the showdowns, you can have better than just an assumption.
Yeah. This guy's tiny stack behind. He's... Oh, dear. I think I'm just going to be paying off his ace now, I think.
Pocket threes. Happy days.
I thought I was just throwing in money there.
Don't do it. Don't do good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, we're running it 3 times, are we? Okay.
Yeah.
Prematurely celebrated there. Never mind.
I tend to...
Now we lost one.
If I'm ahead, I like to try and run it 3 times to realise my equity.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
If I'm behind on the hand, I tend to reject from it 3 times, because then I hope I get lucky, and then, I've doubled my stack or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the same. If I'm miles ahead 3 times, I'll offer. Miles behind, do it once. And if I'm flipping, I'd usually just run it twice just to try and smooth the variance out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes if the guy's been a prick, I just refuse whatever he wants just because I want to be a prick back, and it might sometimes even hurt me. But fuck it, I can be a bit of a stubborn cunt. Can you see? You do get some like us that they'll sometimes they run it multiple times, sometimes they won't, and I'm like, well, if you don't want to do what I want to do sometimes, then I'm never going to do what you want to do, and it's kind of stubborn and pathetic and childish, but
Yeah.
that's the way my
Oh,
head works.
you have no idea how stubborn I can be, Reggie. Quite often I've left the table and then rejoined when someone's left, and then they've just done the same back to me.
How old are you?
And that's gone on for half an hour in the game before it's that.
How old are you, Charlie?
26.
Oh,
Does
no.
it show?
No. I've got kids who are like two sons and a daughter at 18, 20, and coming up 23. And I was going to say, I do know how stubborn you can be because they're some of the stubbornest little fuckers I've ever met in my life. You can explain things to them calmly, logically, and they're like, yeah, but I don't care, Dad, I'm not doing it. And it's fucking Jesus Christ. I just wish I could get the fucking belt out and absolutely braid them with it. But that's not allowed anymore. And both my sons are
Well,
kick
you
me head
say
in
that.
as well.
Remember when I was younger, I used to get a whack with the slipper. I did.
Oh,
And,
I've had a few clumps with the fucking slipper and belt down my ears. Didn't do me any harm, but you just can't do
Well-
it these days. And like I said, if I did try and do that to my sons, especially, they'd probably both absolutely fucking bray me now because they're both big and strong. So I'd probably just be starting a fight I couldn't fucking win anyway.
Yeah. So of my siblings, I was always the silly one. So my sister after the first hit, would say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I won't do it again." But me being the immature boy, I'd say, "Oh, that didn't hurt. That
Yes,
didn't hurt."
yes, we've done
And
that.
I'd just keep getting it till I started crying.
I mean, my mum and dad were good parents, but they were old school. You know, they had me when they were old. I was born in '74, but they were born in the late '30s, so they were quite old when
Yeah.
they had me. And like spanking the kid was just a done thing back in their way. And
Yeah.
I've had big red hand marks on my fucking leg many a time. And that's not to say my mum and dad were in any way like cruel or horrible to me, because they weren't. But they believed in that form of discipline because that's just the way it was back then. It was 40 years ago and everything was fucking different. If you raise your hand to a kid now, and I agree, I would never dream of laying hands on my children. If you can't discipline your children without fucking teaching them that violence is the answer, then give them away.
Yeah.
Fucking foster them out or something, because you're a shit parent. But yeah, back then it's the way it was. It didn't do me any harm, but at that time it was acceptable. Now it isn't, and I'm like, yeah, fair dues. I don't even like hearing people shout at the kids in the supermarket. I walk past, I see some fucking chav mother with like fucking 8 million tattoos and a fucking tank top on, shouting at fucking kids because they're playing up while she's on the fucking phone to someone talking bollocks about Love Island, and she's shouting and bawling at I'm losing a rag, and I'm thinking, what, fucking show yourself up more, love. You know what I mean? The kids are just bored in a fucking shop, you're not paying attention, and then you're bollocking them. Fucking give over. I think this about phoning social services every time. I say, come and get these kids for this cunt fucking has a smack overdose and fucking suffocates them or something. Do my fucking, and that's not against people with tank tops and vests either. But if you're a woman and you have loads of tattoos on your arms and you wear a tank top and you talk too loud on your phone in the supermarket, there's a good chance you're a cunt, to be fair, isn't there? And probably not a good role model as a parent.
Reggie has lost 12 followers.
Yeah. Fuck it. I don't think I've got many tattooed chav women following me. I think I'm safe on that one. I might have picked up a few more fucking right-wing followers, which I wouldn't want, because they like obnoxious opinions, don't they, them fuckwits. I lost one a few years ago. There was, I think, a guy who was going to pay me for some coaching. And then I went on a rant about Brexit and Nigel Farage and the Conservative Party, saying what cunts they were. Next thing he's emailed me saying, I don't want to listen to anymore. Can I have my money back, please? So I'm like, no! Cost me about 120 quid, but never mind, Yeah, he was fucking furious with me. Fucking, I like Nigel Farage, you really insulted me. Oh, well, there you go, mate. There's your money, fuck off. But then he come back later, about a year later, and we're okay. We get on good now. We're all right now. But yeah, it was. I probably should be careful what I say, bearing in mind I do this primarily to attract people to contribute to my business. But I'm never going to compromise my opinions for the sake of $5 rate back or some fucker a week. That's just not going to happen. Not going to happen.
This hand here, yeah. 3-way, I would have bet that flop. But 4-way, I'm just like, it's just chaos. I'm like, there's too much chaos there. I'm just checking and hoping I hit my flush.
I'd have gambled the fuck out of that because we can get it in against worse draws, get it in against worse flushes, get it in against straight draws. That's a spot where I'd
Yeah.
be like, I have the nut flush draw. We can get it in against worse draws, and if we run it at the top of someone's range, then we have 30% equity. That's where I just took my balls in both hands and I just started swinging them around like a fucking champion.
Yeah, and that's it. I think once we go 4, 5, 6 way, I absolutely choke and I just think I don't know what the fuck I'm doing now. I'm like, I don't know what to.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, I mean, you're lower in confidence because, as you said at the start of the video, you haven't been doing that well lately. So you're probably consciously or subconsciously trying to avoid variance. But actually, the more you embrace variance and like take positive, aggressive risks, the bigger your win rate will be. It's the people that try and dodge variance, they're the ones who ultimately end up like having the lowest win rates because they're not taking good bluff spots, they're not taking thinner value bet spots, and they think they're doing a good job. And we'll play this nuts first. I think I would have led out there multi-way. Fuck pre-flop razor.
Okay, yeah.
It's a spot where I think we just lead out and then just get all kinds of action. I mean, someone might bet here, but that happens way too often. It just checks through, and now you can't get all the money anymore because the pot's too small.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
People just see bet with such a low frequency
Oh,
on these boards, on like multi-way pots. People the c-bet frequency just goes way, way down, and it takes someone to have a piece to bet. And if they're going to have enough of a piece to bet, then they're going to have enough of a piece to either call you or race you.
Yeah, as soon as you said it hit home. That I was like, yeah, actually, I've seen this 4-way check down so many times. And then here at the moment, I've not had a thought process, and I've just.
It does seem like you've got a lot of autopilot in you.
Really.
It feels to me like you've got, and it could be because we're making a video, but it does feel like you've got an awful lot of autopilot in you, and maybe you're not fully concentrating when you're playing, and that's when you're going to produce. Sometimes your A game, sometimes your B game, sometimes your C game, but consistently you're only going to be in B minus type territory, aren't you? If you look at your sessions over the course of a month, if you're sometimes A, sometimes B, sometimes C, then you're just going to be in B minus territory too often, and you're probably not doing yourself justice, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think this is probably where I'd probably benefit from analysing my game a lot more afterwards. I think because sometimes in the session, like you say, I'm not thinking things through properly. I'm autopiloting. Maybe that's where I need to analyse my game, and then at least when I do autopilot, I'm doing it correctly.
I think what helped me when I was like not very good, to be frank, I was lucky enough that I was on like a poker forum back in the day called Eat My Stack. That's some really good players who were really generous with the time, and I didn't do an absolute ton of studying, but I did sweat them. I did have them sweat me, and I learned a lot more by talking and doing than I ever will by just reading and watching. So if you're like friends with Tom, I'd just say do a few sweats with him both ways. He sweats you, you sweat him, and just get used to talking poker, and you'll be amazed how much just seeps in without having to like really make a conscious effort to like study stuff. If you're just like talking to people and getting their opinions, and you're like, yeah, maybe I'm doing that wrong, and then you just naturally start doing things differently because you'll just have a lot more light bulb moments than you ever will by trying to read a book. As I said to you the other week, I got Matthew Jander's book, and because I really wanted to like study the maths part of it, and I got about 2 pages in, and it was the most boring, tedious thing ever, and I just put it down and picked up with Steve Davis autobiography and carried on with my shit. But yeah, if I was talking to Matthew Jander in a Skype conversation, I could probably enjoy it for 2 or 3 hours. So, but we all learn differently. It's like, how do you learn best? Do you learn best by textbook? Do you learn best by watching? Do you learn best by talking? Do you learn best by doing it and then having people critique you? We're all different. We all learn differently. I mean, I was a rubbish academic in school because I couldn't concentrate, and to be frank, I didn't want to be there. But I'm not a thick bloke. But you look at my qualifications, and the best qualification you can put on a CV is O-level French or GCSE French, and that's it. And my actual best qualifications are trade union ones, which you can't put on a CV because no fucker would ever give you a job. You know, like, what's your best qualification? Reg? Oh, yeah, I've got an A level in health and safety and an A level in trade unionism. Have you? There's a door, mate. Fuck off. And that'd be that,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
right. Yeah.
So yeah, I know I'm not a stupid bloke, but on paper I'm thick as fucking mince, because the way school taught didn't suit the way I learn. But you don't realise that when you're 14, 15, 16, all you realise is fuck me, hairs are starting to grow, and I like tits, and that's it. You know, you don't. I struggled with it. I always do. It put me in a classroom environment, and I'll go back to my childhood. But put me in an environment where I'm engaged by it, then I'm like a sponge. So you need to find out how you learn best. And I think, like poker especially, you learn a lot just by watching other people. You don't have to do everything they do, by listening to them and then thinking, well, no, I don't agree with that. So then have the conversation with them, and then maybe sometimes you'll convince them, they'll convince you, but you'll end up with a overall more rounded game, because you'll be taking different pieces of different people's game and hopefully picking the best bits out and applying it to your game, whilst kicking out some of the worst parts of your own game too. Because the way we learn in poker is like, Jared Tendler's put the mental game of poker. If you just keep learning new things, but never improving your biggest leaks, you just end up with like a really wide range of like A to fucking F game. But the way to learn in poker is always like, fix your biggest leak, fix your biggest leak. If you're always continually fixing your biggest leak, then you keep moving forward, because eventually what's currently the best part of your game in 6 months' time might then become your biggest leak, and then you work on improving that. So it's like he describes it as like an inchworm concept in his book, whereas an inchworm, it can move forward so far by stretching, but it can't make any progress till it pulls its back end up too. So that was like quite a light bulb moment for me, because I was constantly trying to learn new 3-bet, 4-bet, 5-bet ranges, while still having the leak of never fucking folding to 3 bets. So until I plugged that leak, fair enough, my A game had stretched out really quite far, and I was a much better player at my A game, but my F game was as bad as it was 6 months earlier. So you know, that, to me, you should always be looking at what do I think is my current biggest leak, how am I going to fix that, and then for the next few sessions focus on that leak in particular until you're doing better with it, and then like routinely doing better with it, so then you can find something else that you want to work on. Don't try and work on too much at once, and always try and work on like the worst parts of your game before trying to like learn something new. That's my way of like trying to improve at poker.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've got the fundamentals down. It's just finding that extra bit of edge now. There's, like I say, there's some leaks in my game, and it's just finding them, and it's more just fine tuning, really. I think, to change me from a losing player to a winning player.
Yeah, like I say, your A game will be a winning player. So your job is to discover why you're not delivering your A game as often as you can, and fix that. Because I said, you know, when I'm talking to you, it's obvious you understand what you should be doing, but you're not delivering it all the time. So your job for me at the moment, if I was coaching you, would be, right, well, we need to work on your consistency. We don't need to work on like improving your understanding of like 4-bet defence ranges or what have you. I'll let you play this part out, because this is quite interesting.
I'm just going to jam him.
I wouldn't. I would just call.
Take the aggression, let him make the mistakes.
I would have called and folded on a brick there, buddy, because when he like check raises that turn, I think we're drawing. But we're getting reasonable odds to draw.
Yeah.
I think I would just have called there and folded the river, I think.
Today about that.
Sorry, mate.
And he was saying if someone check raises the turn, they've something like 91% of the time they've got 2 pair or better.
Yeah, it's nutted as fuck. It really is nutted, but he was giving you a good price just to call, because there were loads of chips behind, wasn't there? So we can just call there and then just stack off on a club and just fold on a brick. I think you rushed that again. So that showed me there that, again, you've had that conversation just this morning, but then you've not applied it to your game. You've just gone, fuck it, let's gamble, which again is it shows a lack of, like, yes, Charlie knows what he's doing, but Charlie doesn't deliver it all the time, and that's, to me, that's a disconnect you should be working the most on at the moment. Is just like, why am I not playing my best more often? None of us do it 100% of the time, but maybe you're only playing your best 40% of the time. So you can massively increase your long-term win rate just by improving that by 20%. You'll instantly improve your win rate without studying anything else. Just right, why am I not fucking doing this? Why am I ignoring my instincts? Why am I ignoring what I've learned? And when you answer those questions, then you can start to put them right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously off that hand there, it goes to show me maybe I'm getting all the marginal decisions correct for small pots and then just blowing it all in a big pot like that. You know, that'd have easily been, what, 20 quid gone?
Yeah,
And that's, you know, that.
you rushed that to be. Oh, did we win that one in the end?
Yeah, I did win
Fucking
it, but
get in, like it. Beautiful.
but yeah, like you say, obviously that's where I'm just pissing. Obviously, that's where my profit's being pissed away.
What that tells
I'm
me
doing-
there is, and that spot right there was, this is a tough spot. I can't be asked to think. Fuck it, I'm all in. And
Yeah.
you could do better than that. You really can
Yeah.
do better than that. That you rushed
I
it.
think-
You
I
were
think
faced
the
with a tough
reason-
decision, and you took zero time over it. Before I could say,
Yeah.
"Hang on, mate, just think about it," we maybe just call. You'd already just smashed your fucking chips, and it's the biggest decision of the video, biggest decision of the session, and you took about 1 second over it. And how can that
Yeah.
be good?
I think to be fair to myself, that I had sort of preempted him doing that.
Yeah.
In my head, I was thinking, well, if I limp, I'm in a really shit position on the river. Best case scenario, I hit the flush. He probably suspects I've hit the flush and might not get full value. If I miss the flush, I'm just in a world of pain on the river.
Well, you're not, because you know he's stronger than you, because you know it's 2 pair plus, so you can just fold. The only
Yeah.
river that gives you pain is a jack, I'd imagine, or a
Yeah.
king. You know, if you completely break, you could just fold because you know you're drawing on the turn. You know, you're not
Yeah.
calling because you think you're good. You're calling to draw against what you think's a better hand.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking he's got
Yeah,
2 pair plus,
maybe that's my maybe that's a downfall there. That I'm trying to profit on every single hand instead of, you know, I'm trying to profit on every single big pot when I should just think, you know, obviously some I've just got to give up and lose the big pot.
yeah, well, you nailed it. As soon as that happened, you said, Tom said to you this morning, like, and I don't know the numbers, so I'm not confirming or denying his numbers, but he's right in when check raise turns are incredibly like strong and nutted lines. He's right
Yeah.
in saying that 91%. Don't know where he gets that figure from. I've no reason to dispute it. So that case, if it's like 90% chance you've got the worst hand, then piling all the money in is just bonkers. But
Yeah.
if he is as strong as 2 pair plus, more likely a set than 2 pair, then is he really going to get away when the flush card hits and he's already committed a big portion of his stack? Fair enough, he's going to check the river and hope you don't jam, but when you do jam, is he going to be good enough? Are most 10-0 players good enough to fold a set on the river? Probably not.
Yeah, I think as well, because I hadn't given my time to think about it, I just thought, oh, smash all, and I get some fold equity as well. But really, I mean, probably 2 pairs the only thing he might fold there, and even then, if
Yeah,
he
I
probably
don't think
knows
people
what I'm
check
doing and
raise
doesn't
2
even
pair
fold his 2 pair.
I don't think people check raise 2 pair on the turn to fold it. I really don't. I think they check raise it to
No.
get the money in.
Yeah.
And the problem there
Yeah,
with this check raising was we had the main draw, so you can stick so many draws out of his range because we block him so hard. That makes his range even more nutted then than it does if we
Yeah.
haven't got the draw. So yeah, I would say what I've learned from this session is that you know what you're doing, but you don't deliver it. So I'd say probably play less tables, focus for the time being on just playing your best as much as you can, and that should be your only, not volume, not trying to make money, just trying to polish up your game so you play your A game more often, and then once you've played it more consistently, try adding volume. If you continue to be consistent, great. If you don't, then think about what is it that's adding table, what is it about adding tables that makes me less able to produce my A game, and just work it out. Just take your time. These games are going nowhere. Poker's going nowhere. And if you try and rush it by, fuck it, I'm going to play as many tables as I can, whilst playing my on average B- game, then you're not going to make very much progress. It's going to be like wading through treacle. You're much better.
Cheers very much for that, Reg. It's, I think that hand alone's been worth its weight in gold.
Yes.
Really, I've just gone, oh shit!
And-
And I don't, what's the word? The light bulb above the head. I've gone, oh
You've
shit,
had an epiphany.
That's where my pocket's going. I've just, I got away with it this time, but really, I've just pissed away 20 quid there.
Yeah, but it was fun too, isn't it? Though I wish we'd seen you fucking hit it. That'd have been even more delightful. But yeah, I can tell it's been a good video because I never go more than 45 minutes, or rarely do, and we've gone 58 and I've just checked. So hats off to you, sir. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully you have, and I think the couple of hundred people who eventually end up watching it will too. So thank you ever so much, mate. I really appreciate you doing this, and we can definitely do it again sometime because I've been getting good feedback on like the videos with Tom. I know I'll get good feedback on this one with Ross too. So yeah, yeah, I'm going to try and do at least 2 or 3 of these a week with various different people. But if people don't come forward and you want to do some more, then we can absolutely do that, because yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's a lot more fun than me just talking away to myself, playing like a nit for 45 minutes. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much, Reggie.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. Massively,
You are-
massively appreciate that. Can't buy that anywhere. So brilliant.
You
Cheers,
are more
George.
than welcome, mate. You take care and stay safe.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Bye.
bud. Bye. Bye for now, mate.
Bye.
So, I guess we're going to end up just looking at Barry Greenstein for a moment while we finish the video. But, yeah, cheers to Charlie for that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We just ticked over the hour mark, which is still a long time, but hopefully you guys got something from it. All that's left for me to do now is to wish you all well, as I always do these days. I hope you stay safe, hope you look after yourself, hope you look after other people where you can. And, yeah, take care, stay safe. Much love from me. Bye-bye for now.